My friend Frank is 65 and has had depression in the past. Frank and I wanted to do an episode that gave some practical advice for younger people. I asked Frank about some tips about looking after yourself financially and in all sorts of other ways, and we also talk about recovery from mental health problems. We hope that by listening to this podcast, someone out there might get a few ideas about what could help them with their own recovery. Thanks for listening. Hope this helps. Okay, so I'm with my friend Frank in Frank's lovely garden, and we're going to talk about some practical advice. This is probably designed for younger people. We're kind of imagining somebody going to college or something like that and experiencing mental health problems, and instead of, we talk a lot about mental health, but this is practical advice, ways to deal not with life as well as mental health problems. And people that do not have mental health problems will probably find this useful as well. Life skills are very, very important in the road to recovery, and that's what we're talking about today, is recovery. So Frank, right off the top of your head, if you had to give a piece of advice to a young person who's struggling with mental health problems but also has financial problems, any type of practical problem you can think of, what would be your first off the top of your head?
I think the first thing I'd say is put yourself in that room and not get out and not get in touch with your friends. That's a telltale sign, as if you're starting down with a depression, similar to the duvet days that we can all have at some stage. If you're young and you go into, say, university for the first time and you've been looked after very well by your parents, so in other words, you probably haven't had to do anything at home, that's going to be a real shock for you. So being savvy and protecting yourself and doing things that your parents did for you when you was at home. So let's start the day in the bedroom. When you wake up, I wake up sometimes at 1 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 5 o'clock. If I can't get back to sleep, I start doing the job so my day is free. And then changing your duvet, it's one of the worst things. I hate doing it. It can put me in a bad mood. So sometimes if I've got one or two lady friends, and they'll come for dinner maybe, and there's always can you do this for me, can you do that? And most ladies are really kind to help. But that's about the only help I do get at home. There's me and my dog, Sonny. We get about, we meet people. If I hadn't got Sonny, I think I'd probably still be struggling. So companionship, even if it's companion of a dog, and I won't call him just a dog, he's my best buddy, and we get out together, rain come shine, we meet people, we meet other dog people. And it's amazing sometimes just to get out and talk to people. Don't barricade yourself in that duvet. Okay, if you're struggling, you need to go get some medical advice as well, or talking to a therapist, but that's down the line. And how long does depression last? Well, how long is a piece of string? A piece of string can be as long as you want to make it. Going back to the life skills, I've lived on my own now for about 20 years. Okay, I'm a lot older, I'm 64, but it's amazing what you can turn your hand to, from doing your own cleaning, cooking. There's just no end to it. And one thing I've been into for the last few years now is gardening. So I grow a lot of crops. I regrow a lot of vegetables. So when you come to get to the end of a root of a vegetable, say for instance celery, I pot it up and it's regrowing again, so I don't even have to buy that again. And if I look in my fridge and I'm not regimented on what I'm going to have that day, if I think something's sort of not out of date but just going a bit by its edible date, I'll cook that and think, well, what shall I do now? And then sometimes good old Google, you ask it for a recipe and it's amazing what you can do, but you can do it out your head, and if it goes wrong, try again. What have you got to lose?
You mentioned the word savvy. We both like that word a lot, and you're definitely savvy. What does that word mean to you? Like, how would you define savvy?
I think the word savvy to me means just being careful. Why waste when you don't need to waste? Not always to do with the waste of the planet. It's sometimes not good for your mind or your brain to think you're going to throw something in the bin that's edible. And okay, we've all got a budget to live on. But really, if your budget is really low, if you learn or try to learn, you'd be amazed on what you can cook, what you can make, and just do different shopping. You know, don't go to the local store all the time, because we all know they're more expensive than the supermarkets. And at certain times of the day, you can go to the supermarkets and they're reducing things by 50%. You've just got to be savvy and think about it. One thing I do as well with shopping is I always do a shopping list. You know, so if I use something at home, I put it out on my list, and then I know what to get, so I don't come back with more. Okay, occasionally, but I don't come back with more than what I really need. Money-wise, I'm just very careful on what I spend, really, you know. And like I say, I haven't got an ever-ending pot. I have to be careful. But life's not all about money. Life's about living. You just need money sometimes to just live, but how much you need is another matter.
Yeah, well, that's a good way to put it. People of all walks of life suffer from depression. Money doesn't matter when you've got depression, does it, really? No. I mean, obviously, it can give you security and it can make things more comfortable, but it's not going to change how you feel inside, is it? But anyway, let's get back to the savvy kind of tips. Let's try and reel a few off, like financially, because it's really the way you think about money, isn't it? There was a time in my life when it wouldn't have occurred to me to go and get the reduced 50 pence food items, but once you do it once, you know, that's it. You know, what are good habits to get into in terms of getting by financially and looking after yourself? And let's just try and reel a few off.
I can start it really by being savvy. Like, I never put a washing machine on until it's needed with full clothes, so I never do an half wash. You know, I wait, I pick the right day. I don't have a tumble dryer, I don't need a tumble dryer. I always wait till it's the right day, just checking the weather. And I think where my savviness comes from, I'm a farmer's son, so everybody thinks of farmers are made of money, but really farmers have to really work hard. And I was brought up on a farm until I was 15, 16 before I started my career, and I didn't go into farming, I went into another sort of type of art that I enjoy. Yes, I missed it, but it's learnt me a lot in life. And savvy, why use your car every day? Just to pop to the town to just get, say, a dozen eggs or so many tomatoes. Just waste, because that's making it more expensive for you. Or go to the local store, like the local Tesco, Co-op, or etc., when they have the reduced section. If you're in the village, you know, it's easier, but if you're in a city or a town or a university, it's probably not as easy, but you must have loads of friends at college, or you get to know friends, and they'll be savvy like you. So waste not and want not, that's the main word. It's an old word of waste not and want not, but really in life, the thought of wasting anything, but you know, things like plastic, it all goes to landfill, and that'll last there for hundreds and hundreds of years. So if I could reuse a plastic bottle, a plastic bag, just rinse it through, make sure it's clean to use it, and put it back in the cupboard. You don't need to keep purchasing. Just use your head and think about it.
And in the oceans as well, the plastic, that's a massive problem. Yeah, living on a budget is really about not wasting money, but it's a lot more than money, isn't it? It's just not wasting things that you can use, like food. When I was really bad, really depressed, I used to throw a lot of food out. I felt awful about it. But
think about wasting food or throwing it out. I think sometimes, what about these countries who would love the food that you're wasting and you're throwing away? And besides that, you're throwing money away. You're actually not so much burning money, but you're burying money, you know, and you want to make your money work for you, you know, enjoy it, don't work for money, but make the money work for you. And there's lots of way about being savvy and recycling. But you go by around the streets where people throw things around, and it doesn't have to be like that. Some European countries are really clean, and it's just been how they've been brought up in life.
So Frank, one good bit of advice I think for young people, if at all possible, don't work for money, try and do something you enjoy and the money will come. Do you agree with that?
You know, you're a long time either at college or in an apprenticeship, you know, working your way through on very little finances. When you make the grade, and I'm sure you'll make the grade whatever you go into, but you've got to be happy in what you're doing because you're in that life for a long time. Enjoy it. Make your money work, like I said, but enjoy it. And enjoy it especially in your younger days, you know. Don't start thinking about mortgages and things like that when you go into university because that's well away. You know, there's so many ways about being savvy and making your money work and making money work for you. Don't work for money, like I've said before.
Okay, so we've talked about savviness. You've given some really good advice about things you can do. But now think about doing all those things with mental health problems. You have some insight into this. Why is it so difficult to do these things when you have mental health problems?
If I knew the answer to that, Johnny, I think I'd be not just a millionaire, but I think mental health, depression, anxiety, you can be leading your life really fine, no problems, and then suddenly bang, like the door closes on your face. And if you've had it before, it's never always the same, but you've got these telltale signs and you feel angry with yourself because you've got it back again and you think, why me? What have I done in life that deserve to get this reoccurring? Like sometimes it does. And it's not the winter, it's not a sad syndrome, it can happen any time at all. You know, recently in my village that I live, I met an older lady who's never had any, her and her husband have never had any illness all their life, and now they've been diagnosed with mental health issues. They've never seen it, they've never heard of it, they don't know how to cope with it. They're probably in their 70s, 80s, 80 plus. They thought they got a brain hemorrhage or something, they just couldn't work out what was happening. And I see this lady, not so much her husband, but I see this lady quite often. I said to her, I know what you're going through, I've had depression. And she couldn't believe that I've had depression. Well, anybody can have depression. You don't have to be a pillar of society to have depression. You know, you can be a dustbin man to a lawyer, to a doctor, to a solicitor, to an accountant, to somebody who works in a supermarket. It's just something that clicks. And I wished I knew more about it than what I need to know.
Getting back to, you know, why, because you've seen both sides of it. You know how to be savvy, but you also know how, when you have depression, never mind all the other mental health problems people could have, why does that make it particularly difficult to be as savvy and maybe as responsible as you would be if you didn't have those mental health problems?
I think when you get these mental blips in your life, I think the savviness can go through the wall, through the window, because your mind's all over the place, your concentration's all over the place. You're very up and down, you feel very insecure. You can feel so insecure sometimes if you're going to lose money by not being as savvy as what you are normally. But you've just got to take it day by day. When does recovery come? Like I said before, it's like a piece of string. And it does come. You will get brighter, you'll pick up, you'll get better. The only problem is, when you've had it a few times, there's a chances that it'll come back. But going back to being savvy when you're going through these down days, I think it can go out the window. It can very much go out the window, because on a lot of my down days, I haven't done that. And this last time I had it, mine was more anxiety and talking to the right people. And sometimes you don't want people around you. You don't want anything around you, then the next minute you do. And besides anxiety, you can get very angry with yourself. But the savviness, it does become very difficult when you go through that.
One thing I've found with recovery is basically you control your illness or it controls you. To me, it's all about getting to a point where you can manage your illness and you're in control.
I think managing it at first, I think you can't do that. You just manage to survive day to day. you still, in this day and age, you can feel ashamed with it because you're not walking around with a broken leg and people know you've got an illness, and in 8 weeks' time your cast's going to come off and it's going to get better. But coping with it on a day-to-day basis, it's a bit like a roller coaster. You can be up, you can be down. So the thought of being savvy is not there at all. Again, it's probably a blip and it does come back, but every depression I've had, it's always been different. And what sets it off, I don't know.
Okay, so let's try and come full circle, and the practical advice that you've been giving, and then we talked about mental health and why savviness goes out the window and all of that. But being savvy and looking after yourself and doing all these things is what helps you recover to a degree, and that's what helps you get in control. And they're the most basic things. Literally looking after yourself, personal hygiene, I'm talking about the most basic things. They're hard to do, but just talk a little bit about how being practical and gaining control over whatever it is, your finances, whatever it is, can help to recover.
I think the first thing about your personal hygiene, that goes out the window too, because sometimes brushing your teeth, looking at yourself in the mirror, you still look the same, but you're not feeling the same. Your brain's not reacting like it normally is. So sometimes brushing your teeth, having a shower, which most of us enjoy, it's not even in your head to have a shower or do anything like that.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. The things that people without mental health problems do as second nature, they get up, they jump in the shower, they don't think about it. They brush their teeth, they don't think about it. They go down, have breakfast, get dressed, all these things. I would imagine it's very hard for someone without mental health problems to understand how can that be so difficult. But that is the most difficult, the beginning, getting out of bed, getting a shower, brushing your teeth, getting a shave, whatever it is. Those things are very difficult. And when you get control of those things, and it's all repetition, it's all getting into a habit, they become easier, don't they?
They do, but how long that takes, I don't know. I think when you wake in the morning, if you've had good sleep or bad sleep, for a split second you can feel like your depression has gone away, and then within seconds it's still with you, and you wonder why. Why, oh why, oh why don't you leave me alone? But like I say, savviness, it soon comes back when you're feeling getting better. That's a sign of feeling better with myself, because I am a very savvy person. And savviness is not being a tight arse, it's just being careful. If you got a penny or a pound, don't throw it away. Make use of it. The road to recovery, how long is that? I think everyone's different on that. Some people, when they get depression, they've never had it before, they just can't understand what's going on. And then you get other people who live with depression and don't get it sorted. Their head or their life must be horrendous every day. And that has a knock-on effect on work, on driving, on family, if you've got children, socialising, doing jobs. The hardest thing, I think, when you've got depression is eating, because sometimes you'll lose your appetite altogether. But just eat a little and often, and just give it time. And the thoughts that come into your head, talk to your closest friends about it. And probably a lot of your closest friends have gone through anxiety or depression, or the two together, because they do, I believe, run side by side. And good luck to you. Time is the best healer.
Couldn't have put it better myself. Thanks, Frank. So that was Frank with some very useful thoughts. Thanks to Frank for that. We hoped you got something out of that episode. Until next time, remember you are not alone, and however bad things are, there are always ways to make things better. This has been the Mental Health Alliance podcast, coming to you from the space, which today was Frank's amazing garden. Stay strong, onwards and upwards. Our next episode will be out shortly, and we will be discussing recovery more deeply. Never forget that recovery is possible, and never, never, never give up. Bye for now.